It is the end of the road for cyclist Lance Armstrong. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency has stripped Armstrong of his 7 Tour de France titles and banned him for life from racing. The decision comes after Armstrong decided to no longer challenge doping allegations against him. He released a statement saying, quote, "There comes a point in every man's life when he has to say enough is enough. For me, that time is now," end quote. The president of the World Anti-Doping Agency says Armstrong's decision is clearly an admission of guilt.
If he was innocent, he would have stated as much by rebutting the evidence, testing the evidence, cross-examining the witnesses. That won't now happen. It leaves it open to him, of course, by virtually keeping the evidence under the lap to make any statement he wishes to make, and he's done that.
Armstrong will also have to give back the bronze medal he won at the 2000 Olympics, along with all other titles, awards, and money he won starting from August 1998. Douglas Eldridge is the president of the DLE agency and sports agency based here in D.C. Doug, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Curious about your reaction to this. If he didn't take the drugs, why give up the fight?
Well, you have to remember, though, too, this is not a new argument. This is not a new story. This is something that has been going on for over 15 years since the earliest allegations. So this isn't really a question of veracity of facts or the strength of the argument so much as it is one of the parties simply being exhausted. You know, as Armstrong has contested all along, as somebody that's been a professional athlete competing at the highest level for over 20 years, he's taken cumulatively over 500 tests, and according to public record, what we've seen up to this point, he's not failed a single one. And so the argument, and really the concern for his side, is if WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, which is over top of USADA, which is the U.S. edition of the Drug Enforcement Agency, dictates its rules based on passage or failure of drug tests, yet I've never failed a test, but you're going to convict me nonetheless.
But why would the president then say it's an admission of guilt that he's giving up the fight?
Because it's the theory that if you're not guilty, you'll fight until the end. And if you're innocent, you'll prove your innocence. And that's really the central point of Armstrong's argument is, wait a minute, at what point was I required to prove my innocence? Why aren't you required to prove my guilt? And again, what we're looking at is really something that, from an agent standpoint, when I look at my other clients, it's really concerning from a precedent standpoint. Here you have the opportunity to effectively, in a non-judicial setting, convict somebody without physical evidence, without, as far as we know, again, a failed drug test, but the alleged testimony of 10 witnesses, his former colleagues and antagonists and teammates as well, and a test abnormality. So absent the fingerprints on the gun or the gun itself, metaphorically speaking, there's a real concern here among agents and certainly among athletes as to the precedent this might set moving forward.
We've all seen those yellow armbands. How is this going to affect his fundraising efforts going forward through Live Strong, which of course raises money to fight cancer?
Well, I think that's certainly a question, and in recent years that's where Lance has given the bulk of his energy and his efforts and his focus. As an organization, they've raised over $500 million, and the yellow bands, the Live Strong bands that you mentioned, were started in 2004. And the question really goes to Lance's legacy. And you know, in December of '09, I came in and talked about Tiger Woods, which at the time was breaking news, and the impact that his actions would have on his career and on the sport of golf. And I remember saying at the time, Tiger isn't golf. Tiger is bigger than golf. And no matter what happens with Tiger, it's not going to hurt the sport of golf insofar as participation or viewer numbers, and it's not going to hurt Tiger insofar as fan popularity. Obviously, you saw some of the sponsors drop off, but the fans never did. And so now when you click onto ESPN, irrespective of where Tiger is in a tournament, he still leads the ticker insofar as where he is. Tiger's legacy wasn't damaged in the context of popularity. So when you ask about Live Strong and how this is going to impact Lance's Cancer Foundation, the question really goes to his legacy. And I've been there. I've seen the impact in the cancer wards, whether it's the adults, my own father, that was going through chemotherapy and radiation when Lance was really at the very beginning of what would be 7 dominant consecutive years in a row, to the children. Bald as can be, cut ear to ear with a chemo tower. I've seen firsthand the impact that his actions have had. And so I guess that's a very long way of saying, will there be a bump? Presumably, yes, but in the long run, in the context, in the legacy, in the lasting footprint that this man leaves, Lance's real legacy will be in the lives that he changed through his cancer foundation, not in the bike races that he won.
All right, Doug Eldridge, thanks for being with us tonight. Well, we put this same question out to our Facebook fans. See what they think of the punishment. Jennifer wrote, I think it's BS because He has passed every drug test he's taken. They are only going off another man's word who did get busted for doping. Aaron said when they have been investigating for 2 years and have no evidence against him, it is harsh. He is simply tired of fighting those who don't like him. We all know how great of an athlete he really is. And Emily said, I feel so badly for him. He earned those titles and passed the doping tests. I wish he had continued to fight the allegations.